So the Taliban and Islamabad have been at rifts right from the year 2015. The dynamics of relationship after the US withdrawal, the Taliban's return to power kind of give them the ability to now assert independence outside the realm of Pakistan. And Kabul no longer needed Pakistan as a diplomatic channel. Taliban again denies the region to be dominated with ISI's influence and ISI's physical presence in Afghan soil, and which results in the first border skirmish. If we put it in this way, will Afghanistan tensions leads to hostility on the Indian border? Yes and no. No, in a direct kinetic sense, but sir, in terms of military operations, the line of control or the IB with India will experience some heat from the clashes of Taliban. Now, the thing is, Pakistan is overtly stretched in the western frontier. ISI and the army are in blind, which means Tehrik-e-Taliban will be bleeding them from the west. The Baluchi insurgents will be attacking Chinese establishments and the whole CPEC. And in this time, at this particular moment, Taliban will be refusing to help. So, a two front flare up, if you see Afghanistan plus India, is strategically suicidal for Pakistan.
Hi, I am Pratim Bose, and you are watching Podcast with Pratim, presented by Iravati Research and Communication Center, or IRCC. In this episode, we will discuss Pakistan-Afghanistan border clash. I have with me Anant Mishra. Anant is a Marie Curie Research Fellow at the University of South Wales. Welcome, Anant.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Anant, I will request you to, just in cases where you are using your abbreviations as an expert, so just explain it a bit. Uh, Anand, so far as we know, Pakistan tried an Operation Sindoor in Afghanistan. And right at this moment, so it led to a bigger disaster as Afghanistan is now, they are going after the border outposts and even have taken their pants off and put it up somewhere. Now, a week after that attack in Kabul, there was an airstrike on a particular on the chief of Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, or TTP. So the Pakistani Talibans we used to refer. So its chief Nur Wali Mahsood was attacked by that airstrike. Apparently, now he has come back in a video message. He said that he is alive and fine. And Afghanistan is denying to have given refuge to Pakistani terrorists or whatever. Now, explain to us what is the situation, whether Pakistan has invited a trouble actually by this airstrike. Over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, to give you a correct version of it, sir, Pakistan did not conduct Operation Sindoor element in Afghanistan. Sir, to be very honest, if we say Operation Sindoor and connect with what Pakistan did in
By
Afghanistan,
Operation Sindoor, I just loosely wanted to mean a phenomenon that
sir,
going out and hitting your, someone else's territory.
sir, I even that didn't happen, sir, because you see the TTP chief coming up and saying, "Look, I'm alive." So even that element, even that at a minuscule level, didn't even succeed. So the thing
So
is,
there was no airstrike in Kabul.
no, there was an airstrike in Kabul, but sir, the outcome of the airstrike did not meet what the Pakistani Air Force wanted to achieve, sir. The chief is still alive.
So that
So
is exactly what I was trying to tell, that they
exactly, sir.
tried an Operation Sindoor, but it blew up on their face.
Exactly, sir. So, sir, what essentially did was, sir, they have heavily militarized border zones in Chaman, Spinboldak, and Turkam Jalalabad. They, in terms of the skirmish that happens on the border, sir, Taliban deployed fighters on the eastern front. Pakistan kept the artillery batteries, drones, and surveillance units. Civilians were displaced on these particular borders. And sir, the idea
How many
was,
are dead on either side?
sir, the numbers are inflated, but sir, there are many scholars contemplating a lot of things. The numbers are inflated, sir, but what I can say in surety is on what we have on the ground, sir, is that the Pakistanis lost more men than they are essentially claiming, and which means the Pakistanis would have lost easily anything between 40 to 60, even to 100, according to one estimate. And the numbers in the Taliban front is relatively lesser, but they still have some casualties in the numbers. But the Taliban will not is not an entity, is not a recognized state where the numbers would officially reflect their military ranks. So, sir, the idea in principle of the whole operation, if you look at it, is largely on the basis of how Pakistan is trying to put this on the Taliban side and saying that, look, we won. And if you look at the statements made by even the foreign minister of Pakistan or the defense or even Field Marshal Munir or General Munir, whomever you want to call it in this way, he said they are going to conduct an operation in a similar style they did with India. But unfortunately, with the capability that Pakistan has, they didn't even execute it into 1% of what they were claiming of. And that,
So I'm stopping you.
uh,
Uh, let's not go back to the history of Pakistan and terrorism. We all are aware how Pakistan had used the TTP. Pakistani army had once used the TTP, and then it had become a Frankenstein. The last couple of years, there were a lot of clashes between TTP and the Pakistani army, and many soldiers have died. The bigger issue is that by going after Afghanistan, hitting, it was their first strike inside Afghanistan, and at least during the Taliban regime. So, what would be the political fallout?
Sir, that's not their first strike in Afghanistan. So the PAF has bombed the villages in Shultan district, sir. To Shultan is in Asadabad in the Kunar province in Afghanistan. So Pakistan Air Force have been used aggressively against the Taliban since 2022. So the first reported incident of Pakistani Air Force being used to bomb a civilian village in the Shultan district to as part of their operation to remove TTP was first happened in 2022. 20 civilians were killed, mostly women and children. There was an official condemnation released by
So, that was after the evacuation of the US forces.
Yes, sir. That's in 2022. That is 1 year
Okay.
after Taliban came into power. And
Okay.
Pakistani struck the Nari and Dangam, which is the key infiltration routes which TTP uses.
But this one was a little daring because it had hit, it was struck at Kabul, right?
Yes, sir, it was struck in Kabul, but if you look at the trajectory, they didn't stop because the first incident was reported in April 2022. There was another airstrike that Pakistani conducted in Spera, also killing civilians and particularly women and children. And this time it was in Pasamela and Mandata. Mandata and Pasamela are again in the province of Gurbuz. So in 2023 and 2024, if you look at the escalation, Pakistan did not use airstrikes, but they used artillery shells to drop in the provinces of Gurbuz. So, and they've
So, I
targeted,
mean, okay, understood. Artillery
uh,
shells means it is border region, right? Uh,
but this again escalates in 2023 and 24 when Taliban vehicles and Pakistan border guards fire at each other at the Turkham Goshta axis in 2020, 23 and 24, and it goes on till at least 6 months relatively. So
so your point is that there is a history of clash. I
yes,
agree. But what I'm trying to know is that Pakistan has hit out. Okay, firing a few artillery shells on the border is one thing, right? We do that constantly on our borders between India and Pakistan are lobbing those, gun, always firing on the border. But when you hit whether it is an airstrike. Was it a Kabul? Was it a missile strike or an airstrike?
It's an airstrike, sir.
It was an airstrike. So you are doing that. You are entering a very dangerous territory because here is a land where both the US and Russia have beaten the dust. Right? Both are down. No one could win this land. So whether Pakistan has, my question is whether there is a bigger fallout expected of this adventure or misadventure.
So there is a bigger fallout, sir. And for the audience to kind of connect the dots, sir, the Taliban and Islamabad have been at rifts right from the year 2015. Now, sir, when we look at the fallout that happened between Taliban and Pakistan, we are looking at from the perspectives of what it is today. But if we rewind a little bit, sir, we would see that since we divide it in phases, sir. So if you look at the era of 2015 to 2020, when the negotiations started, so Islamabad brings in Taliban in Qatar, and so the US Taliban talks in Doha happens. Pakistan essentially lays the foundation of bringing in Taliban leadership to Doha. The relationship during 2015 to 2020 was largely transactional but still functional. Now, if you look at the uh, shift post shift in the relationship or the dynamics of relationship after the US withdrawal, the Taliban's return to power kind of give them the ability to now assert independence outside the realm of Pakistan. And Kabul no longer needed Pakistan as a diplomatic channel. So, what does Pakistan, to assert its leverage over Taliban, does? It kind of tries to bring in strategic importance to the new regime, but Taliban increasingly becomes uncooperative, especially when the discussion revolves around Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan. So when you look at the years of 2022 to 2023, there is a series of conversations, series of dialogues that happens between Pakistan and Kabul in terms of Kandahar, which is the new capital in Taliban. Taliban refused to stop Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan despite Pakistan's pressure. Taliban again denies the region to be dominated with ISI's influence and ISI's physical presence in Afghan soil, and which results in the first border skirmish, cross border shelling, and public humiliation from both the sides in terms of the foreign minister of Taliban coming up and doing a spat on Pakistan, or the Pakistani leadership coming up and doing a spat. So the public spat kind of emerges. But if you again look at from the years of 2023 to 2024, the hostility escalates. And all of this is regarding Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan. But now what Pakistan does is, Pakistan brings in or collaborates with Daesh, which is the ISIS, to kind of target Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, expose them in terms of geographical location, and use aerial assets to bomb them. Now, Taliban viewed this as a strategic betrayal because inviting their sworn enemy, is a sworn enemy of Daesh, and inviting them into their soil is a betrayal, is a disaster in terms of relationship. So the diplomatic relations went deep and they sunk eventually, and Taliban became more hardened in terms of their relationship with Pakistan. So when 2025, the full diplomatic estrangement that you kind of see with clashes on Durand Line, which is coupled with Amir Khan Mutaqi's visit to India and the joint statement that comes up and says Jammu Kashmir is an integral part of India, made it absolutely clear that Taliban now see Pakistan as an adversary, not as a partner. So if you look at if I see these incidents from the perspective of how it happened, in the old view, Pakistan was a patron, Pakistan was a protector, and Pakistan was a transit state. Now, if you look at today how Taliban perceives Pakistan as, Pakistan is a rogue state exploiting instability, backing ISIS or Daesh, and violating Afghan sovereignty. Now, if you interpreting how the Taliban leadership interprets now is the Taliban Shura believes Pakistan wants to control Kabul's foreign policy, specially to keep India out. And that's a red line for the Emirates' claim to sovereignty and legitimacy. Sir.
If I can interject here, the Pakistan, of course, knows Afghanistan a bit better. Uh, is there a way of a political fallout? First of all, Asif Munir has lost quite a credibility with this, and they are practically complaining to US to stop India, Afghanistan, etc., etc. Meanwhile, there has been some report day before or so where an Indian army general has gone by the gallantry award list of Pakistan to claim that 100 odd soldiers died in Operation Sindhu. But my, what I would like to know is that whether, as you said, that Pakistan is introducing new element against Taliban. So one question is whether that can increase the unrest in the region because that's very next to our territory. Second is, and whatever happens in that area will finally end up reflecting in our Jammu and Kashmir or may. Second is whether there is any vulnerability of Taliban in Afghanistan and vis-a-vis the vulnerability of Munir in Pakistan. Over to you.
So, sir, um, well, the short answer is not directly, but yes, indirectly. So, the Pakistan-Afghanistan border clashes will definitely influence India-Pakistan border environment. But, sir, though not necessarily there will be an immediate military escalation. So, if we put it in this way, will Afghanistan tensions leads to hostility on the Indian border? Yes and no. No, in a direct kinetic sense, but sir, in terms of military operations, the line of control or the IB with India will experience some heat from the clashes of Taliban. Now, the thing is, Pakistan is overtly stretched in the western frontier. ISI and the army are in blind, which means Tehrik-e-Taliban will be bleeding them from the west. The Baluchi insurgents will be attacking Chinese establishments and the whole CPEC. And in this time, at this particular moment, Taliban will be refusing to help. So, a two front flare up, if you see Afghanistan plus India, is strategically suicidal for Pakistan. So, if we bring in a rational threat point of view, the Afghan border crisis will not essentially trigger any aggression directly on the Indian Pakistan border.
Right. That was actually, yes, you're right. I said it indirectly, that whether there can be an indirect impact. But will the introduction of the new elements which are against Taliban, so is there a possibility that the Taliban may be weakened?
So that's not quite true that the Taliban will be weakened. And the reason is absolutely because Pakistan is militarily or even kinetically trying to put a good show towards the Taliban, but they are on an informational on an influence space, bringing India into a board. And I'll tell you why. When I said indirectly, sir, I meant there are a lot of indirect action that is going to be playing here. So the first thing is the Rawalpindi strategic paranoia is going to come up, and there is only one paranoia that they have, that now GHQ feels that they have not only been betrayed by Kabul, they are cornered by Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan. Now they are surrounded by Indian influence. Now, Taliban's symbolic tilt towards India, Mutaki's visit, joint statement in Jammu and Kashmir, has triggered panic in Rawalpindi. And this will increase in more propaganda against India, which they will always use the word Delhi is meddling in Afghanistan, reactivation of Kashmiri proxy networks, divert public pressure from the front failures on the Afghan front, then ISI will eventually go
In
in.
fact, they saw such a bloody protest in POK.
Absolutely. And that's what they will do now. So they believe firmly that the proxy I would say depth that Afghanistan was they always had is now gone. So it may reactivate some elements of the sleeper cells that they have currently embedded in the parts of Jammu and Kashmir. So this is how they will react. Low intensity cross border infiltration is going to spike. Narrative warfare and psychological operations is going to increase. And this is going to target India Afghanistan ties. Cyber and different propaganda disinformation will be played in the minds of the Afghans, and a new narrative is going to be run. The Pakistan army has lost public confidence due to the failures on the TTP front, which is very visible in terms of how the protests have come up very.
I believe the perception they managed it through their publicity. They are specialists, by the way. I mean, give the devil his due.
Exactly.
Pakistan is specialist in spinning stories. So
Uh,
right
Absolutely,
now
sir.
we see Bangladesh is playing second fiddle. For last so many months, Bangladesh has been just kind of churning out all those things. I was noticing. And
Sure.
they have gone quiet once the Pakistani army was beaten by the Afghans. So you can clearly see the link. So yes, you are right, and I believe the Operation Sindoor itself has actually hurt them, had hurt them a lot. And the big my that takes me to my last question is they are there, the Pakistani military establishment, the Munir and etc. could only stay back and rather exert more power is because of the US support, right? So how long US can pursue that is another issue. But right at this moment, do you think US will be involved in this Pakistan Afghanistan thing?
Sir, US is not going to involve in itself in anywhere. Let's be very honest about it. Because the thing is, sir, if let's say in the previous question you asked, will Taliban show a good sense of military might in if there's a full scale kinetic war against Pakistan, and this is the kind of context that that Washington will try to evade itself in getting balked again, because 21 years they've been there. Again, the outcome was not exactly reflect their intent.
That country is a killing field for any invader. No
Exactly.
one can win that country. Let's be very clear about it.
But if you look on the paper, sir, Pakistan still has an upper hand. Now, we say what it may, Pakistan still has a functional air force. They have JF-17s, drones, F-16s given by the US. They have artillery capability, which has advanced GPS enabled. But if you look at the similar in terms of how
Did
the
Afghan army shoot down some of their planes?
That's a good. That's what, sir. But uh, still, in that limited amount of firepower, a full scale conventional escalation is where Taliban kind of falls a bit weak. But in an open warfare, if you look at it, Taliban will be outgunned, sir. And now this is something that I have analyzed personally. So I'm not sure that the Taliban will be able to hold any strong conventional battle in that sense.
No, 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 no. They are not known for that. They are not known for that. They will excel the moment you keep bombing them. They will suffer that, but they will survive that. You are going to waste your time, energy, people on that.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. And that is where the Taliban controls the terrain.
They
If
are
you look
basically the rat hole miners,
at
kind of
absolutely,
stuff.
sir. And that is where counterinsurgency doctrine comes into play, because if you look at how Taliban controls the terrain, Kunar, Khost, Paktia, Nangahar, Chaman, Spinbolda, border units of Taliban destroying Pakistani fence, mortars, RPGs, acquiring border posts, outposts from the Pakistanis, blocking trade crossings for weeks, bleeding Pakistan economy to dry. Those are the areas where Pakistan is going to bleed massively. And Taliban fighters are native Pashtuns. They know the terrain, they know the villages, and they can mobilize thousands in a very small period of time. So they don't need an air force. They don't need narratives, moral territory. They are fighting an insurgent style kinetic warfare, not conventional maneuver warfare. So if we look at, yes, I mean, in terms of Pakistan does have hardware, but Tehrik-e-Taliban is still operating. Pashtun tribal sentiment is absolutely anti-ISI. Taliban has ideological legitimacy inside Afghanistan. Pakistan strikes are killing civilians, not Tehrik-e-Taliban leaders. So this is the most important thing. That means that is making Taliban look like a victim, which means there is mass route for propaganda and recruitment that could massively enhance their capability in terms of manpower. Now, every time you see the incidents of Pakistani Air Force bombing Khost or Kunar, Taliban looks greater, gets greater public sympathy. They have more anti-Pakistan protests coming up in the region, and the diplomatic space with Taliban, with India, Iran, and Russia grows massively. So whatever the battlefield is not just the border, but the regional optics, the tribal pride, and sovereignty all kicks at the same time. So the idea is in terms of a long war, the Taliban will definitely have their show, and they would definitely bleed Pakistan massively.
Thank you so much, Anant. Let's end this episode over here.
Thank you for having me, sir.